Hey Aries, this is your look at the astrology of April 2021. My name is Katie Sweetman and I'm with Empowering Astrology. Do follow me online at empoweringastrology.com. But let's look at this month's astrology, and more importantly, it is your birthday season. So this month you sort of turn the page, of course, in your personal calendar. It's a time of fresh starts, new beginnings, all the things that Aries is known for. You know, with Mars, and Mars is your planet, by the way. I don't know if you know that. Mars is what's called your ruling planet. It's over in Gemini, so this birthday season has a little bit of a Gemini feel to it. What does that mean? Gemini is the energy of movement, travel, choice, duality, ideas, information, communication. There is a restlessness with Gemini energy. You put Mars in there. Mars is the spark. It makes you take action, and of course it's your planet, and maybe you feel like you are on the go. You are moving back and forth between appointments. You're in your car a lot if you drive. You're on transportation if that's something that's relevant to you. This is not a birthday month, so to speak, where you are sitting still. So that said, you might, conversations might be really important if you are a writer or even a teacher. Maybe you're doing a lot of writing, you're doing a lot of communication, you're doing a lot of connecting with students if you're a teacher, or maybe you're taking classes yourself, because this is sort of putting this focal point on education for your birthday season. And to be fair, this is energy that's seated in your astrology for the rest of 2021, going even into 2022. A little side note about Gemini: it's a sign that we've been seeing a lot of action in lately, and not just because Mars is there. Back in the end of 2020 and even the middle of 2020, we were having eclipses in Gemini and Sagittarius. So you could say that now that Mars is in Gemini, at least until April 23rd, it's sort of picking up on these bigger themes that you are navigating since last year. What is your truth? What do you believe in? What's your faith? What are your convictions? And this sort of need to exchange and talk about what you believe in. But do keep in mind, and maybe you're realizing this, or maybe you're not realizing this, with Mars in Gemini. Gemini is trying to help you get a new perspective. The south node of the moon right now, it's a whole other conversation, is in Sagittarius. But what that's saying to everybody, including you, that this is a time when you have to sort of reevaluate what you believe in. And Sagittarius is a sign that 9 times out of 10, it's right. It's got, it knows what it's talking about, but it's that 10% that sort of gets problematic. So keeping that in mind, this month, how do you get that fresh vision? How do you get new ideas? How do you weigh different options, go in different directions? Because it's possible, maybe this is something that you're realizing this month, that you sort of thought you knew which way you were going, and maybe you were like really certain which way you were going. And then, March, April sort of started to show you that actually maybe it's someplace else. So there's a little bit of a theme, especially in the first half of this month. Well, actually the first couple of days of April, with Mercury in Pisces, because, sort of this energy of Mars and Gemini pointing over to Pisces. Astrology is just about following the planets. You've had to, maybe you're coming into April and you are having to let go of something. You're having to let go of something that you've been holding on to. Maybe these ideas that you really thought were true, but maybe not so sure. Maybe you're thinking about deeper questions of faith and truth and meaning. But speaking of Mercury. Speaking of Mercury will go into Aries on April 3rd. So when you start to get into April 3rd beyond, which I realize is obviously, a good part of the month, things are going to start to pick up, because there's been a little bit of this behind the scenes. Like, we are in Aries season, we are about time of new beginnings. Mars is really making you move fast and like try a lot of different things. But Mercury's been in Pisces, and maybe things haven't been so clear. So when, Pisces is a water sign, but when Mercury gets into Aries, your sign, that's fire, that's action, that's moving forward. Suddenly, you know exactly what you need to do. You need to take action. You need to move. So you might see a lot of movement, fire plus the air of Mars and Gemini. You have a lot of movement going into the rest of the month. Well, especially, the rest of Aries season, rather. So if things get a little fast, if things get a little heated, maybe, I will, to be fair, Mars and, over in Gemini, picking up on Aries energy, you've got a point to get across, and maybe it's a little, well, pointed. You need that Venus energy to kind of smooth things over. And, maybe you're picking up with Venus is in your sign. Venus is in Aries until I believe it's April 14th. So you are trying to be a little bit of a diplomat right now, but, Venus is in Aries, is in a sign that normally it's not at home in. So there's a little bit of having to sort of like stand up for what you believe in right now, Aries. Speaking of sort of this time of new beginnings for you, this birthday season, well, you're going to have an Aries new moon on April 11th. So the new moon in your sign, and of course, it's always kind of happening around your birthday. It's sort of, that's like your real reset for the year. There's sort of these two energies. One might be feeling a little bit more internal, more intuitive, but then you get the other side of this Aries new moon. And now you're really in this fresh start, these new beginnings. Now you're really taking action. Maybe before you've just been planning. This Aries new moon, it picks up on our really old story. And this is a story that I've talked about from time to time in different videos and different places. A story that began in 2008. Because this new moon is going to make something called a square to Pluto. Pluto is over in your career sign. It's been in your career sign since 2008. Pluto is Lord of the underworld. It tears things down. It rebuilds things, but it sort of has to get to the real deep soul of something that's happening in your life. And you could say that over the last 13 years, I know that this is a big span of time, you've seen a lot of professional transformations. Maybe there has been the end of a career, the need to restart something, the need to navigate a lot of difficult narratives or power plays, or needing actually to stand up into your power. So this Aries new moon, of course, it's a reset, it's a refresh, but it is talking about this story that has been weaving its way through your professional life since January 2008. So maybe keep this in mind if it sort of touches on something, it sort of shakes something, it makes you have to stand up for something, a truth, a conviction. And because you're all fire and air this month, maybe you got a lot to say. Maybe this is a time when you really do have to take this next big step up in your life and sort of confront the fears, the insecurities. That said, Mars is square Neptune during the time of this new moon. And when Mars is square Neptune, there's a sense of like, well, how do you sort of let go in a way? There's maybe there's this idea of what you want. There's that sort of theme again versus maybe something that's not quite going to work out in that way. Because Neptune talks about higher callings, talks about higher paths, and this need to maybe realize that just because we want things to happen a certain way, sorry, Aries, maybe it's really, there's a better way, and maybe it's not your way. So maybe you're having to sort of negotiate as you go into this new lunar month, like how do you take some big steps in your life and make some big choices, but maybe those choices, it's not clear cut. Maybe it's like you choose something, but it comes at the expense of something else. Then, I mentioned this earlier, Venus goes into Taurus on April 14th. Taurus is your money sign, an area that's been getting some shifts and shakes since 2018, 2019, courtesy of Uranus and Taurus. You are in a much bigger period of time that will take you over the next few years where you have to really know the value of you, or the value of your time, and how you earn a living, and your self-worth, if I didn't say it already, and needing to, all these kind of bigger themes about career and like the changes that have been kind of going on for a decade. Okay, well, do you know what you're worth? Do you know what you need? Taurus is very much a nuts and bolts sign. It's like the roof over your head. It's the food in the kitchen. It's what do you need to feel safe and secure? So maybe you're very security conscious, money conscious, need conscious as you go into the second part of April. A couple of days later, on the 19th of April, Mercury goes into Taurus, sort of loses some of its quickness as it goes into Taurus. When Mercury goes into Taurus, we have to be very deliberate about what we're saying, what we're thinking. Taurus can sometimes move a little more slowly compared to Aries, but it's a need to sort of like plot and strategize and know if what it's saying is of value, and maybe even the value of your words. And then a couple of days later, on the 19th of April, the sun goes into Taurus as well. So we're sort of shifting into this Taurus season as we go into the second half of this month. And so it seems like the first half of April is a lot more fast paced, and then we sort of start to slow down when we get into Taurus. Now, Taurus is a sign that tells us about, like I said, stability, material value. How do you create value and resource in your life? So, maybe you're, doing your taxes, maybe you're looking at your bank account, maybe you're thinking about spending, and it's the sort of things that you need to do in order to create more wealth and resource in your life. Speaking of taxes, we do have a Scorpio full moon later this month on April 26th. Scorpio does put the spotlight on finance, wealth, debt, estates, benefits, taxes, as I was saying, and also these sort of deeper intimacy and vulnerability and sexuality. And, we are, Aries and Libra are relationship signs, Libra being the opposite of Aries. But after that, you get sort of into this, well, am I safe? Duality towards Scorpio. What do we share? What do we own together? How do we share ourselves and all the deep and complicated feelings that are coming up? This full moon will oppose Uranus. So it's really bringing forward a story that began in May of 2018, March of 2019, when Uranus first went Taurus. You are in the midst of a revolution of money, how you earn a living, really transforming your sense of value and self-worth. Backtrack a little bit. Mars, your planet, will go into Cancer on April 23rd. So there's going to be a big shift, from the fast-paced energy of Gemini and then Mars and Cancer. Mars and Cancer is very need-oriented. There's that word, need. It needs emotional connection. It needs emotional stability. It needs family. It needs home. So we're getting this sort of Aries Cancer thing going on later this month. So we're all thinking about our needs. How do we feel, like we have enough? Maybe you're really focusing on your living situation. Mars in this part of the chart, by the way, as you go into the second half of April and even into May, it's picking up on a natural time in your personal calendar where it could be a move, change in the home, people moving in, people moving out, purchase of a home, especially with that Scorpio full moon, because that talks about wealth and assets and mortgages, and maybe needing to focus more on family. Needing to kind of get back to basics and make sure that, as much as it's about money in the bank, it's also about the real people in your life. So a little bit, again, slowing down as you go into the rest of the month, even though that is a very hot full moon on April 26th. It is really sort of bringing up a lot of big seismic energy. So if your world is shaking and shifting, how do you get back to solid ground and back to basics? So that is your look at the astrology of April 2021. Happy birthday again, Aries. My name is Katie Sweetman with Empowering Astrology. Follow me online at empoweringastrology.com. Book a session or subscribe to this channel. All right, take care. Bye.